straight to perhaps the first order of business this morning. It's the headline in the Daily Guide.
Yes, it says Supreme Court overturns backbend, reinstates 4 MPs.
Let's find out what happens next. We're joined over the phone line by Roxanne Nelson Dafeamekpor. He is Member of Parliament for South Dine. Mr. Dafeamekpor, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to your listeners.
And thank you very much for your time. So I guess the first and most important question is, what happens next? If Parliament is recalled tomorrow, for instance, will the NDC now resume their original seats on the left-hand side of the Speaker?
Thank you very much. That may not be so. We may have to go through some processes for that to be done. It's part of the procedure.
What processes would that be?
Yes, when a court enters judgment or gives an order or a ruling, you have to go through processes to execute that. I'm sure you know that it's called execution of court order or court directives or court ruling. There's a whole procedure on executive judgment executory process. So Parliament will have to take certain decisions to give effect to the Supreme Court decision.
Right. So is it your submission that if Parliament doesn't carry out certain procedures, the Supreme Court ruling does not yet apply to you?
That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the Supreme Court has made a declaration. It has to be given effect to. Parliament is not a one-man entity. It's a whole organization. It's an organ of state. So it must go through a certain processes, certain procedural processes to give effect to the Supreme Court decision. So it's not an automatic thing. Processes will have to be gone through. Procedures will have to be followed.
Okay, can you please walk us through those processes?
Okay, for instance, the Marshal's Department will have to take steps to readmit these 4 ex-MPs. And that is the Marshal's Department. They take charge of security. It's the Marshals that will admit you to Parliament as a member of Parliament or a member of the parliamentary service. So they are in charge of security of the premises of Parliament. And under the Marshal's Department of Parliament is the parliamentary police unit, and the commander. He too must go through some processes. Then we have the clerk, who is the clerk to Parliament and also head of the parliamentary service, must also take steps to give effect to the Supreme Court decision. Then, of course, Speaker himself, as head of the organ of Parliament and also the presiding officer of the chamber, will also go through some steps to ensure that the 275 members also comply with the court order. So there's a whole execution that we must go through to give effect to the Supreme Court order.
Is this to say that if these processes are not carried out by all these other stakeholders you've mentioned, like the marshals and the police and the Speaker, then the minority will not comply with the Supreme Court order?
It's not the minority we are not the minority. You mean the NDC caucus?
The NDC caucus, yes.
Yes. So until we go through those processes, how do you give effect to the Supreme Court order? That's the question I'm asking. So it has to be executed. And in executing a court order, it's a procedure you follow.
Right. Now, you mentioned that the first step would be that the marshals would have to readmit the 4 affected MPs. But were these affected MPs ever removed from the chamber?
They haven't stepped back in the chamber, so I'm unable to speak to it whether when they appeared they were blocked from entering. Of course, if that were not so, I don't think they would have been in court asking that there should be some reversal of that.
Well, in the absence of any, well, they were not in court. First of all, I think it was the majority. Mr. Dafeamekpor who was in.
Is their member, is their leader that was
right?
To court.
That's
went to court on their behalf.
Yes. Well, not one of them, of course, was with the NDC side.
So it's like a class action. In law, we call it a class action.
Very well.
Once your rights are conjoined, a decision in your favor affects all the members of that club.
Very well. Since there is no record of them being removed, why would there be a need for them to be readmitted?
I can assure you that the Marshal's Department would have taken those steps. I can assure you.
Taken which steps? Sorry.
Taking those steps to give effect to what Speaker had said, which has been reversed, sort of.
Okay. So once these
are procedural matters.
Right. So once all these procedures that you've described are carried out, the NDC will then resume their original seats?
Well, I believe so.
Right.
I believe so.
Will these procedures require having MPs come and sit and Parliament having quorum before they are carried out?
Absolutely.
But you are quite clear, and you've heard the majority leader say, under no circumstance will they sit on the left side.
You see, I think it's been petty about this matter. If by some decision you had been moved to the left side of the speaker as your sitting place, and you have gone to court to have that reversed, as it were, then to have that executed, you need first of all to come and go through the procedure that will give effect to that reversal order. So if you refuse to come to the chamber, how do you give effect to the order of the court?
So you are insisting that until the other members
no, don't use the language I am insisting. I am sticking to the procedure in Parliament.
Very well. You are explaining.
Yes, so don't say that I am insisting.
Yes, Roxanne.
That's my submission.
You are explaining that until the NPP caucus comes to Parliament.
Yes, for instance, for business to comment on the floor, the business committee must convene. He chairs the business committee.
Mm-hmm.
For businesses to be carried out again, other people, businesses will have to be admitted by the business committee, and other people will have to be prepared to prioritize the order of businesses to be conducted. He is in charge of that as leader of government business. So if he's thinking solely about his sitting place in Parliament and therefore will not get those backroom activities in order for businesses to be conducted on the floor effectively, that's up to him.
Now, the other point here is, when were you supposed to rise for? Is it the election break?
We ought to have risen, I'm sure, sometime 21st or 22nd of this month.
That's next week.
Yes. So for members to have about 2 weeks to go and finalize their campaign towards the 7th December election.
But of
because
course,
we are aware that the special voting takes place on the 2nd of December.
True.
So, and that's like the two aspects of the general election. Special voting, which is the part 1, takes place on the 2nd. Then the rest of us will vote on the 7th. So when you enter December, you really have you are ready for the election. There's no time for campaign again.
But of course, emergency recourse are accepted, right?
Yes, emergency recourse are accepted.
Very well.
Okay.
Now, but let me say this. Are you aware that as we speak, there's a pending motion in Parliament, again brought by the NPP, for the Honorable Ajwa Saku's seat to be declared vacant? Pursuant to Article 97(1)(c) as we speak, is pending. MPP brought it before Speaker Gbagbo. When they brought that motion, they didn't know that the declaration that the Speaker will make will be unconstitutional.
Well,
so we'll trigger that motion. The report is even ready. I have a copy prepared by the Privileges Committee. We'll trigger that motion and we'll take a decision on that motion.
But we know, and so we are not putting the two together. Yeah. What Afenyomarket asked the court to do was that he wanted a declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of the 1992 Constitution in the light of Articles 2, and he mentions a lot of the articles and rules of court, the filing of nomination by Honorable Esiama Mwako, the current independent member of parliament for Fomena in the Ashanti region, to contest the Fomena parliamentary seat on the ticket of the NPP in the next or 9th parliament of the Republic of Ghana does not amount to vacation of his seat as a member of parliament in the current parliament of the Republic of Ghana as an independent member to join another party. Then same is repeated for Cynthia Morrison, Kojo Asante, and also yes. So this is not related to the Adwoa Asafo matter.
It relates to numbers. It relates to vacation of. It's the same matter. It's the same Article 97(1) matter. The Article 97(1) gives a lot of circumstances which, when triggered, must lead to a vacation of seat. One is death. When a member dies, it is not the speaker's pronouncement that leads to a vacation of. It is the occurrence of death. Speaker merely announces that and informs the EC accordingly. That is the absurdity of all this. When a member resigns under his signature, it is not speaker announcing it that makes the seat vacant. It is the act. So are we being told that the act of this whole MP does not constitute a vacation of?
Except I do not intend relitigating the matter. I don't even know the reasoning given for it. So I'm not sure we can relitigate it here. When you brought it up, who says that this matter cannot go on a review? No. This is such an important matter that it can go on a review. Yes. So, but that is by the by. But I'm only saying that the matters of numbers in Parliament is not over. At all. Okay. Well,
it's not over at all.
And is this something you are likely to raise when Parliament resumes sitting?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Now, do you think that in light of all of these matters, there will be time for the business that government has signaled they need to do, including presenting a budget for the first quarter of 2025?
Well, I'm certain that the post-election time may permit us between sometime the 10th of December and 25th of December. They have adequate time to do that.
Very well. All right. Well, I want to say a big thank you to the Honourable Member of Parliament for South Dine, Mr. Roxon Nelson Dafeamekpor. We appreciate your time.
Yes, one would have thought that this was the conclusion of the matter. But I mean,
not according
if
to
it's procedure, if it's systems established and probably put together, one would expect that they'll go through it. But I think the members of Ghana's parliament should be mindful.
Exactly.
They should be mindful that they are serving the people. They should be mindful that they are basically representatives of people and not know whether they've been told by their constituents that they approve of their conduct in this matter, and not know whether MPs, because they are delegated representatives, they went for specific mandate to go and represent them. For some time now, they've not been able to do the work, including repealing LI 2462 in this same parliament. I think that they should reflect on this conduct as true representatives of people, and whether or not they have done that job well, especially within the last few weeks that they have been back and forth on this matter with the involvement of the courts.
Well, I mean, you have said it all. What I expect to see in the coming days, or even today, is for the processes to start so that Parliament can be back in session, because we are all interested in the betterment of this country. There are key government business that must be on it, including the budgets and others that government want to do. In fact, this matter about mining in forest reserves, we
That's
need
true.
that matter
Yeah.
cleared and cleared out as early as possible. What I'm picking is that the MPP caucus expect the speaker to on his own recall parliament if he's not, if by the close of work today that is not done. They hope to trigger the relevant provisions to they've already gotten the signatures of the required number
50%.
of MPs. Yes, exactly. But you see, that also creates some issue because the speaker will then have within 7 days to do that, and time is of
And
the
7
essence.
days way past the 21st
Exactly.
conversation. Will go further down,
Right.
there. And if they start raising some of these matters,
Yeah, so
and there's no agreement on it, it may further delay. I think they will still need the Austin Garment kind of help to do the mediation.
Right.
Frankly,
Yeah, but you see what happens. This is what you get when you continue to demonstrate that other things are more important than the business of parliament. Little by little, you are rendering the whole institution nugatory, useless, pointless, because we can go this long without you,
Right.
and nobody dies. This is the only thing you are demonstrating to us.